Two friends and a lesson. I was a young man when this story happened. My best friend and I lived in a small village. One day, we decided to travel to a big city. We wanted to see new places, meet new people, and enjoy life. My friend was tall and strong. He ate a lot of food every day. He loved meat, bread, and sweets. I was thin and small. I ate very little. A small bowl of rice was enough for me. My friend often laughed at me. "You need to eat more," he said. But I liked my way of eating. When we arrived in the city, we were very excited. The streets were full of people. There were big buildings, bright lights, and many shops. We walked around and looked at everything. It was different from our village. At night, we went to a market. We saw beautiful things, clothes, jewelry, and fruits. Suddenly, the police stopped us. "You stole something," they said. We were shocked. "No, we didn't," we said. But they didn't listen. They took us to prison. The prison was dark and cold. The walls were tall, and the doors were locked. The guards gave us little food. My friend was angry. "I need more food," he shouted. But the guards didn't care. Days passed. We didn't know what would happen to us. We sat in our small cell, waiting and hoping for freedom. The prison was cold and dark. The air smelled bad, and the floor was hard. My friend and I sat in a small cell with only a thin blanket. We had no bed, no pillow, and no comfort. Every night we tried to sleep, but it was difficult. The guards gave us food twice a day. It was only a small piece of bread and some water. My friend was angry. "This is not enough," he shouted. "I am hungry." He hit the walls and yelled at the guards, but they ignored him. I was also hungry, but I stayed quiet. I ate slowly and saved my energy. I knew we had to be strong. If we wasted our energy, we would become weak. My friend did not understand this. He was used to eating a lot. He could not control his hunger. Days passed. My friend became thinner. His face lost its colour. He had no energy to walk or talk. "I feel so weak," he said. I tried to help him. "You must eat slowly and stay calm," I said. But he shook his head. "I can't live like this." One day, the prison doctor came. He looked at my friend and said, "You are not well. You must rest." But there was no real help. The prison was not a good place for sick people. I was worried. My strong friend was becoming weaker every day. I wanted to help him, but I did not know how. I could only watch and hope that we would be free soon. The days in prison were long and painful. We had no idea how much time had passed. There were no windows in our cell, only a small opening in the door. We could hear the guards talking and prisoners crying. It was a sad place. My friend used to be so strong. He was always full of energy, but now he could not even stand. His face was pale and his hands were shaking. "I need food," he whispered. "Real food." But there was nothing I could do. The guards only gave us small pieces of bread and water. I tried to save my energy. I ate my food slowly. I rested as much as I could. "We must be patient," I told my friend. "One day they will see we are innocent." But he did not listen. He only thought about food. One night he woke up shaking. "I feel so cold," he said. I took my thin blanket and gave it to him. "Take this," I said. "You need it more than I do." He smiled a little, but his eyes were full of fear. The next morning he could not get up. "I can't move," he said. His voice was weak. I knocked on the cell door. "Help!" I called. "My friend is sick." But the guards did not care. "Everyone is sick in this place," one of them said. "He will be fine." I knew he was not fine. I sat next to him and held his hand. "Stay strong," I whispered. But deep inside, I was scared. What if we never got out? What if my friend did not survive? I closed my eyes and prayed. Days passed, but my friend got worse. He could not eat, and he could not stand. His strong body had become weak. I watched him every day, hoping he would get better. But he did not. His eyes lost their light, and his voice became soft. At first, he tried to stay strong. "I will be fine," he said, "just a little more time." But his body said something else. His hands shook, and his legs would not move. He could not even sit up without help. I felt helpless. I wanted to do something, but there was nothing I could do. The food they gave us was little, but I still tried to share mine with him. "Eat," I said. "You need your strength." But he could not swallow much. Each bite was difficult for him. The nights were the worst. The cold air filled the cell, and he shivered. I gave him my thin blanket, but it was not enough. His breathing was heavy. Sometimes he woke up in the middle of the night, gasping for air. I held his hand and whispered, "Hold on. We will be free soon." The guards did not care. They laughed when they saw him. "The strong man is not so strong now," one of them said. They thought it was funny. But I did not. I wanted to shout at them, but I knew it would not help. One night I woke up and saw him staring at the ceiling. His eyes were tired. "Do you remember our trip?" I asked, trying to make him think of something happy. He nodded slowly. "Yes," he whispered. "It was a good time." Then the next morning everything changed. The guards came. "You are free," they said. "They found the real thief." I could not believe it. My heart raced. We could finally go home. I turned to my friend, ready to tell him the good news, but he did not move. His eyes were closed. His face was still. My hands shook as I touched him. He was cold. "Wake up," I whispered. "We are free." But he did not wake up. I called the guards. A doctor came. He looked at my friend and sighed. He did not have enough strength to survive, the doctor said. His body could not take it. I sat beside him, my heart heavy. He was strong once. He laughed, he ate, he ran. But now he was gone, and I was alone. I sat beside my friend for a long time. I could not believe he was gone. Just 2 weeks ago he was full of life. He was strong, always laughing, always eating. Now he was silent forever. The guards did not care. "Move!" one of them shouted. "You are free now." But I could not move. My legs felt heavy. My heart was empty. I wanted to cry, but no tears came. A doctor covered his body with a cloth. He was too weak, the doctor said. His body needed more time to adjust. I looked at my own hands. I was thin, but I was alive. I had survived. The guard pulled my arm. "Go," he said. I stood up slowly. My friend was not coming with me. I walked to the door, but I turned back one last time. "Goodbye, my friend," I whispered. Outside, the air was fresh. The sun was bright. People were walking, talking, laughing. Everything felt normal. But inside me, nothing was normal. I felt different. I walked through the streets, not knowing where to go. I was free, but I felt lost. I thought about my friend. He always ate more than me. He was always strong, but in the end he could not survive. Then I remembered his words. "You eat too little," he used to say. "You are too weak." But I was still here. And he was gone. That day I learned something important. Strength is not just about muscles, it is about patience. It is about balance. My friend had too much and I had too little. But in the end, my way helped me survive. I kept walking, thinking about life. I was free, but I was not the same man I was before. Days passed, but my heart was still heavy. I walked through the streets of the city, watching people go about their lives. They laughed, talked, and hurried to their homes. They looked happy, but I felt different. I was not the same man who had entered that prison. I sat by the river, watching the water flow. The sun was setting, and the sky turned orange and pink. I thought about my friend. He was always strong, always full of energy. He believed that eating well and having a strong body was the most important thing. But in the end, his strength could not save him. I closed my eyes and remembered the doctor's words. His body needed time to adjust. He was used to eating a lot. When the food stopped, his body suffered too quickly. But I was different. I never ate much. My body was used to little food. That is why I survived. That day, I learned a great lesson. Life is not just about being strong. It is about balance. Having too much of anything can be dangerous. Having too little can be dangerous too. My friend had always laughed at me for eating little. But in the end, it was my way of life that helped me survive. I stood up and took a deep breath. The wind was soft and the air was cool. I knew I had to move forward. My friend was gone, but his memory would always stay with me. I would honour him by living wisely and making better choices. As I walked away from the river, I whispered, "Goodbye, my friend. You taught me a lesson I will never forget." And with that, I stepped into the future, carrying the wisdom of the past.